Over the years, his YouTube channel has racked up 1.3 billion views. He has millions of listeners and the ear of our current president.
Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile.
He grew up the oldest child of a dentist and a homemaker and went to high school in Austin, Texas.
I read a lot of history books when I was a kid, and I also had family that was educated. So, I mean, I just knew how things actually worked versus what the news was saying sometimes.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
But Jones's influence hit new heights when he attracted a very famous fan, then presidential candidate Donald Trump.
I just want to finish by saying your reputation's amazing.
In December 2015, Mr. Trump appeared on Jones's radio program, offering praise and promises.
I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope.
But you might be classified as an Eastern Republican. Fair?
Well, I guess you could say that, yes.
Which means kind of a Rockefeller, Chase Manhattan Republican?
I never thought of it in those terms.
How do you define? Are you a Bush Republican?
No, I think I'm really, the people that I do best with are the people that drive the taxis. You know, wealthy people don't like me because I'm competing against them all the time, and they don't like me, and I like to win. The fact is, I go down the streets of New York, and the people that really like me are the taxi drivers and the workers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I really get a great response.
Why are you a Republican?
I have no idea. I mean, I am a Republican because I just believe in certain principles of the Republican Party.
You have flirted with the idea of politics. Now you're here at your first national convention. Does that get you interested in possibly making the plunge?
Now you have to tell me something. Who told you I flirted?
Well,
I didn't know that I flirted.
Well, you took out full-page ads in the New York Times to talk about your foreign policy. Some people would say...
I do feel very strongly about the country. I love the country.
And when Mr. Trump won, Alex Jones found himself with access to the seat of power. InfoWars got a temporary White House press pass for the first time, and Jones says Mr. Trump called him after the election to thank him for his help. You have said that it's surreal to say something on InfoWars and then hear it come out of the President of the United States' mouth a couple days later.
I mean, that has happened, but...
Do you think he's watching?
I mean, I know Trump watches and sees the clips and things.
We did find indications of that.
You've become a role model in this country. The reason that your book sells, the reason that your board game sells, is because people are looking to leaders. People are looking for values, and you're one of the people. And it's you may dismiss it, but people are talking about, Donald Trump for president. What they're really talking about is Donald Trump, show us the way. Be the true white hat.
I'm, again, somebody that has a good instinct financially. I have had historically. I've followed markets. I've been going in the right direction, whether it's New York real estate or stocks or whatever. I know from a common sense financial standpoint that something has to burst. When a country is losing billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and when other countries are making hundreds of billions of dollars. Something is going to burst, and it's going to start here. I know it. It's a question of when. To me, it's not a question if, it's a question of when. And unless we're going to solve our problem, and the problem is caused by our allies, unless we're going to solve that problem, this country is in very, very big trouble. And I'm not talking recession kind of trouble, I'm talking depression kind of trouble.
Would you really like to take over and run the country as you have run your organization?
I would much prefer that somebody else do it. I just don't know if somebody else is there. I don't know if we have the kind of advocate that you need. We need major surgery. This country needs major surgery.
Are you the surgeon?
I think I do a fantastic job, but I really would prefer not doing it.
Are you saying you will take it only if drafted?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I hope that somebody comes along who can be an advocate, and I think that somebody will be so popular.
But you haven't seen anybody.
He or she will be the most. But I don't see it now. I wish that person were there. But again, I do know one thing. It's not a question. This country is losing hundreds of billions. It's not a question if, it's a question when.
Donald Trump calls me. Secretary says, Donald Trump would like to talk to you, Mr. Jones. You'd like to talk to him? Yes, boom.
While Jones has boasted of his contact with the president on his radio show, he downplayed it in his interview with us, claiming the mainstream media, or MSM, has exaggerated their connection.
I think my influence on Trump is way, way lower than what MSM has said.
Well, what kind of access do you have?
He's just called sometimes and talked about politics or thanked me, stuff like that. That's it.
Would you describe yourself as friends?
No.
Friendly?
Sure.
And how many times has he called you?
I don't want to get into all that.
I have never understood how this is possible. I have never understood how somebody throughout this country didn't sue the United States government and have that overturned. I mean, you had people, investors, investing over a 10-year period for under a set of conditions. And this is, as I was talking before, playing the game. We're all playing by a certain set of rules. The rules were changed for the government, but they weren't changed for us. I mean, it was an incredible circumstance that happened. And people went bust by the hundreds of thousands. And I hope you weren't one of them in terms of that, but obviously you know a lot of people that were. They changed the rules on taxes. And you have some incredible situations where people guaranteed personally a stream of payments to be paid over a 10-year period based on a stream of tax benefits for perhaps a very good job, like a low-income housing development. Nothing wrong with that, a very positive thing. And after 2 years, they got wiped out with the taxes, and yet they still owed all of this money. And many of these people, most of these people, had to declare bankruptcy. They couldn't pay it.
I deal with foreigners all the time. I deal with foreign leaders all the time. I know many of the foreign leaders probably better than a lot of the so-called candidates that are running on the Republican and Democratic tickets. I think I'd get along very well with them. And I think you'd have a lot less gridlock in Washington if I decide to do this and if I won.
You know, nobody talks about the soldiers that are coming back with no arms and no legs. And I saw at Mar-a-Lago on Mondays, I make Mar-a-Lago my club that you know about.
In Palm Beach.
I make that twice now. On a Monday, I let returning Iraqi injured soldiers come to the premises. The most beautiful people I've ever seen, but they're missing arms and legs. They're with their wives, sometimes they're with their girlfriends, and the tears are coming down the faces of these people. Well, I just hate what's happened to this country. We've gone to a country that's no longer respected. We're in a war that we should have never, and by the way, I'm worse than any hawk there is in terms of military and in terms of defending ourselves. But Saddam Hussein didn't knock down the World Trade Center. He had nothing to do with it. And there were no weapons of mass destruction.
David Corn of Mother Jones tweeted, quote, "Trump is the InfoWars president." Of course, quoting InfoWars, your site, your show, your thoughts.
This is one of the only times that the mainstream dinosaur corporate fake news media is actually accurate. Something that they're trying to, give a lot of Trump's success credit to me to wound Trump because I'm so radical. The truth is Trump resonated with the populism that InfoWars resonates with, and so the very tide that's lifted InfoWars lifted Trump. So yes, we do have some influence on Trump, but this is pretty much all Donald Trump himself. It's the fact that he interfaced with that feeling of the time of revolt against corporatism, revolt against the two establishment parties, that he was so successful.
The other day, the head of 3M said that President Obama is anti-business. Do you get the same feeling that he does?
Well, I don't know that it's anti-business or he just really doesn't know exactly what to do. And I'm afraid it probably is the second thing. I don't see him necessarily as anti-business. I think that he is not sophisticated in the ways of business. He hasn't dealt with the people that you've dealt with and that I've dealt with. I deal with China as an example a lot. It is never easy. And I've made some very big deals with the Chinese. I've come out on top. I've come out in great shape. I sell apartments to Chinese people. I get along great with them. It's not like, anti-China. I just think it's ridiculous that we allow them to do what they're doing to this country with the manipulation of the currency that you write about and understand, and all of the other things that they do. And frankly, if I were them and if I could get away with it, I take my hat off to them, frankly. They do get away with it. And I hire companies all the time, and it's so hard for our companies to compete against Chinese companies. I mean, these companies have such an advantage, whether it's glass for a curtain wall or whether it's, and you use the term because you know what's happened, sheetrock. I mean, they used to give us sheetrock, just give it. And everybody that was unfortunate enough to use Chinese sheetrock had problems. I mean, problems like where people were dying from it. The good news, Steve, our product is much better, but with the manipulation of their currency, it's very, very, very hard for our companies to compete.
Donald Trump, knew who I was, knew what I was doing, talked to him some here and there. The whole point is it's not about me. I'm just pointing out the movement that was already there that he basically surfed in on.
But you're the loudest person talking about this. You're the most successful person talking about it.
Bigger waves are coming. We don't rise and fall with Trump. Now you're going to see the next wave. Good luck with that.
But I'll certainly do whatever is necessary and however I can help, whether they want me to make speeches, whether they want me to contribute, raise money, I'll do whatever I have to do. We need somebody great as a president.
I know that you were mentioning that Aaron and I did a kind of an interesting video not that long ago in August about how things have fallen apart. But at that point, the only people who were saying it were us and you.
I was saying it. I was saying it a long time ago.
Any politician, do you think, has the pulse? Anyone running for president has the pulse of what you know about the economy?
Well, the biggest problem is something I never hear about. I told you about it once. Every time they lower interest rates, the cartel, because I call it a cartel, right, the illegal monopoly raises oil prices, okay? So the monopoly, because that's all it is, it's a total illegal monopoly. If businesses ever formed OPEC, everybody would be put in jail. Here they are, and every time a country hits oil, they're invited in to the cartel, okay? It's a disgrace. So what happens is every time interest rates go down, oil prices go up, and it's the same number. I mean, practically the same money. So they lower it, they raise it, they lower it, they raise it. Now you have oil that's close to 100, going to be over 100, and nobody in this country calls and says, get that damn oil price down. You get it down.
This new leaked information will absolutely change the world if the people discover it and pay attention to it. And it's this. Donald Trump is for real. Donald Trump really does want to save this country. Donald Trump really does know about the New World Order, about globalism, about the big mega banks coming in and taking control of this country and other nations, and that they have a plan to bankrupt nation states to fold them into a private corporate government, a form of neo-colonialism, where the big offshore banks actually colonize through banking fraud and take control of the nation states, like you've seen in Ireland, like you've seen in Spain, in Greece, in Italy, where they even appoint former Goldman Sachs heads to be the presidents.
But
have to tell you that our country is in serious, serious trouble. We owe $17 trillion our debt. How do you pay off 17 trillion? Nobody ever heard the expression a number of years ago. The word trillion. We have debt that's beyond belief. We have deficits that nobody can even comprehend. China, which I've been talking about for the last 5 years, yesterday, right in our face, they just devalued their currency. Now, for those that don't understand devaluation, what they're basically doing is saying, we're really ripping you big league. Nobody's ever done it better than us, but now we're going to really do it again. And the reason they did it, and everybody was surprised by it, was because our leadership is so weak and so pathetic that they can get away with it. And believe me, they're taking our jobs, and they're taking a big league. And China's not the only one. You look at other countries, they're all doing the same thing. They have no respect for our leader, and frankly, they have no respect any longer for our great country. And it's so simple to solve.
Donald Trump gets it all. Donald Trump knows as much of this as I do, or more. And he's been an entertainer. He's played along. He just wanted to be a businessman. He kept thinking things would get fixed. And I was told this over, 8-9 months ago by Stone when the Trump campaign approached me. And Stone said, listen, he doesn't want America to be wrecked. He knows these foreign businesses and banks and special interests are gutting the country. He hates it. He loves this country. He hates seeing Americans become poor. He wants to see a rising tide raising all ships. And then months later, it was in Politico from other people. 20 plus top Republicans met in his New York offices and they had sub sandwiches together for an hour-and-a-half meeting. And Trump said, I'm not letting them wreck America. I'm not letting them deindustrialize it. I'm not letting these foreign elites do this. We're not going to have America conquered. My point is, everything Stone told me about that ended up being, from other people's quotes knowing Trump, exactly what really happened inside, even from his enemy Politico.
Now you look at what's going on with Afghanistan. You have Karzai that's treating our president like he doesn't even exist. So they make a deal, and I'm not advocating stay, because frankly, I want to build this country. I want to build these schools. I don't want to build a school in Afghanistan, a road going to the school, watch it get built up and then blown up 4 times, and they keep rebuilding and rebuilding, and you go to Brooklyn, New York, and you can't have schools. You go to Iowa, you can't. You go to wherever you go, and you can't have schools. Because we don't have any money, because we're spending it in other places where, frankly, they don't want us, and I don't want them. And it's amazing.
So then I talked to some other people that know Trump, and they said the same thing, but it was different events, so I wasn't putting it all together. Then Dr. Jerome Corsi was on the show. PhD, political science, international banking, Harvard, worked in clandestine operations all over the world, anti-terrorism, 3-time #1 New York Times bestseller, and friends with Donald Trump for 40 years in business. And I knew that, I'd been on break before when Donald Trump has, like 5 or 6 years ago, called Corsi up. And he's like, oh, that was Donald Trump, when he's on Skype. So, he's good friends with him too, and I started just clicking. So I was asking him on air, what type of guy is he? What's he stand for? And Corsi on air said he knows everything. He knows everything I know, everything you know. Believe me, he's got a plan. And so I'm going to get Corsi back on and talk more about it, but he was just saying what all these other big insiders told me, that no, he knows all about NAFTA, all about GATT, all about the New World Order, and you see him in his policy saying that. He just doesn't sensationalize it. With its global government taking us over, he speaks at a blue-collar level that he knows the public will understand. He even dumbs down his speech on purpose to reach the general public because he knows they'll get lost in all the complexity. Is that a blow against him, or is that positive that he's able to do that? He's got this whole, dumb schmo thing going on, and that ain't it. Corsi ran serious operations for the government as a private contractor, super clandestine stuff. He's a super sharp guy. Why do you think Trump calls him up for advice on things? Or not even so much advice, he bounces things off people. So there's a bunch of people I can't mention and say here because it was told to me in confidence.
InfoWars is so threatening to the mainstream media because it's the most disruptive form of media that has been brought forward to challenge the mainstream media. If you watch the mainstream media, it all looks alike. It all sounds alike. It has all the same patterns to it. They're talking points. And NPR, I think they go to the famous NPR school to learn how to talk like that on the radio. They all sound the same. Well, the reason is because they are all corporate, CIA, Fed, Mockingbird media. And that's where Alex Jones comes in and disrupts it, breaks the model, tells everybody the truth, fights. And Alex and I have been together for years. I think my first interview with Alex went back to about 2005. And this, this period of time has been one where Alex, I found early on, was a champion for fighting for the American freedoms, for fighting for the Constitution. And we didn't have enough fighting for the Constitution, and now we've got millions, including you. And the reason Alex Jones is vilified is because the mainstream media is afraid. They're losing viewers by the millions, while Alex Jones is gaining viewers by the millions. And they're seeing it happen.
Our country is in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. I beat China all the time. All the time. When did we beat Japan at anything? They send their cars over by the millions. And what do? When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't exist, folks. They beat us all the time. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. And now they're beating us economically. They are not our friend, believe me. But they're killing us economically. The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems.
I was told over a year ago when he was first running by a prominent person that's friends with him that, oh, you didn't know that Trump sees you as the underground and he's going to basically take this anti-globalist New World Order stuff mainstream and that you're going to cover the underground and he's going to cover the above ground. And I'm sitting there hearing this going, oh yeah, Donald Trump. But then I heard Matt Drudge, a decade ago was a listener, and then he's visited the office and is a daily listener. I was told the Japanese deputy president was a listener and he's come on the show. I was told the head of the German CIA was a listener and he's been on the show. InfoWars is really big, so but it's not about me. I'm talking about all this right now because you need to know that it just kind of built up, and I had never really talked about it, that all these insiders go, hey, Alex, Trump's on the team. He was on the team before you were on the air, okay? He just knew the public wasn't ready yet, and the country's hanging by a thread. He's for real. He's for real, and he's going for it all, and that's why K Street and the lobbyists and the political class that have hijacked the nation are so scared, because they've been tapping his phones. They've got dossiers on Trump. And he tried to sneak up on them and, get in with them thinking he'd work with them. They know, and they're scared because let me tell you something. Donald Trump, thank God he has a big ego. Thank God he likes, the founding fathers in America. He really wants to be the guy that saves America. Wouldn't that be cooler to bring back prosperity and save America and defeat the globalists? That's bigger than defeating the Soviet Union. Soros, as Buckley pointed out before we shot this, is like in a wheelchair with oxygen tanks like a James Bond villain, manipulating through surrogates, and the Koch brothers are. Trump's right out in the open going, I don't like the political system. It's legal, but I don't like it. You have to buy these people. And I'm sick of foreign interests buying them. I'm going to try to put an end to that. I've done well in this country, and now it's time for me to pay back. He really means that.
Last quarter, it was just announced, our gross domestic product, a sign of strength, right? But not for us. It was below zero. Who ever heard of this? It's never below zero. Our labor participation rate was the worst since 1978. But think of it, GDP below zero. Horrible labor participation rate. And our real unemployment is anywhere from 18 to 20%. Don't believe the 5.6. Don't believe it. That's right, a lot of people up there can't get jobs. They can't get jobs because there are no jobs. Because China has our jobs, and Mexico has our jobs. They all have our jobs. But the real number is anywhere from 18 to 19 and maybe even 21%. And nobody talks about it.
And that's why he doesn't care if he loses all these businesses or loses billions of dollars, which he's lost about $500 million, it's estimated, just since the campaign with people demonizing him. He said, hey, there'll be no country left if we don't turn this around. So the big news is, the big scandal is, the horrible international globalists that launch all these wars and give each other Nobel Peace Prizes, that do all these evil things, that have gotten America in debt by design, and that have dumbed down our education and opened our borders and sold out our industry. They are having conniption fits to the point that the Republican leadership of the RNC Rules Committee has to go on CNBC and say, your vote never counted. Don't vote for Trump because we're just going to take the delegates anyways. And the reporter goes, so why we have primaries? He goes, good point.
The media has created the perception that the voters will decide the nomination, and that's the concept. That's the conflict here.
We feel like we live in a democratic society. What you're telling me is it's not a democratic society, and your votes don't necessarily matter because it's a democratic representation, correct?
No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm trying to say is that we're just one of the political parties. There's many political parties, but political parties choose their nominee, not the general public, contrary to popular belief.
Then why bother holding the primaries?
That's a very good question.
Our enemies are getting stronger and stronger by the day, and we as a country are getting weaker. Even our nuclear arsenal doesn't work. It came out recently. They have equipment that's 30 years old. They don't even know if it worked. And I thought it was horrible when it was broadcast on television, because boy, does that send signals to Putin and all of the other people that look at us and they say, that is a group of people and that is a nation that truly has no clue. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
About 3 years ago, a group of generals came to me, and it was explained to me they were ready to conduct a coup d'etat. They were ready to move Barack Obama from office with military force. And then a few weeks later, I got another call and said that they were reconsidering. Do you know why they were reconsidering? No, why? Because they talked to Donald Trump. And Trump agreed that he would run. And they agreed that if he would run, they would conduct their coup d'etat as a legitimate process, rooting out the traitors within government. And that pact between the military and Donald Trump has held.
Our military told Obama, we're not going to be part of this anymore. We're not going to back radical jihadis. We had a soft coup against Obama's coup. Oh, this is really dangerous. This is real. This isn't movies. This isn't spy thrillers. This isn't, the days of the Condor or whatever. This is the real deal for Western civilization and the whole future, basically, of humanity, and all of us that are the InfoWars family are just the focal point of the resistance. And it's going to be our job to return the republic. And I've got to hand it to Trump, the way he cloaked this long. He's just a master to counter these dark sorcerers. And they're scared. They're scared. They're real scared, and they should be. Because Trump and myself, people like Drudge, we're all just the first big wave. Stuff's coming after us real fast as the spirit rises that is going to absolutely devastate the enemy. But let me give you a warning. The enemy is going to turn loose some stuff as well. We're going to see their champions stomp out on the field.
We're making them uncloak in their attempt to maintain control. All these special interests that have come in and stolen and robbed the country blind are having heart attacks. The communist Chinese government, the Pope, all these different international organizations are saying you can't have Donald Trump because they know that he's trying to return power to the people and do basic things. Like he says, bing, 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 bing. You just say, hey, China, you can't have a 30, 40% currency tariff on our goods. They go, oh, that's protectionism. No, that's a screw job by them. You'd better stop it. That alone. He says, hey, they've shut off 1,000 of our power plants. That's almost double our energy prices. You can't have a factory here because it's too expensive. We're going to take those restrictions off. They're clean. The globalists could make more money selling pieces of our economy off to India and Mexico and China.
Well, you need somebody, because politicians are all talk, no action. Nothing's going to get done. They will not bring us, believe me, to the promised land. They will not. As an example, I've been on the circuit making speeches, and I hear my fellow Republicans, and they're wonderful people. I like them. They all want me to support them. They don't know how to bring it about. They come up to my office. I'm meeting with 3 of them in the next week, and they don't know. Are you running? Are you not running? Could we have your support? What do we do? How do we do it? I like them. And I hear their speeches, and they don't talk jobs, and they don't talk China. When was the last time you heard China's killing us? They're devaluing their currency to a level that you wouldn't believe. It makes it impossible for our companies to compete. Impossible. They're killing us. But you don't hear that from anybody else.
And Trump really means to break that. He really wants to be the greatest president ever. And he's in a position to do it. No wonder he's so confident. No wonder he's so fearless. And to learn that he's aware of the show and what we cover, and I'm not going to get into it, and I'm not going to give inside baseball, but down the road, it feels really good to know I'm influencing the campaign. I'm influencing Trump. You're influencing him. He's learning too. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive, and there's a reason they're scared to death of him. So that's the bottom line. Donald Trump is anti-New World Order. Donald Trump knows more than he's saying. And that's why they're so scared of him. And I've had all these insiders that know him go, you didn't know he's anti-New World Order? You don't know he knows about the globalism? You don't know he plans to try to defeat all this and truly bring America back and make us free and open again?
So they've been through this 6 or 7 times now with Obama and the globalists. So the Russians said, okay, we'll talk to your military. Sure, we'll talk to your chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Sure, we'll talk to all the heads of your military. Oh, you want us to come in? You know we're already there. You know we're already losing thousands of troops every few months. Oh, sure, you're not going to give us a problem if Air Force comes in. Okay, we'll divide the country in 3 parts. We'll even go with your previous plan. Sure, we just want to stop World War III. Boom, we're coming in. They come in. And they join U.S. military forces now there who know everything they do has been given to the ISIS people days beforehand. So now the military started doing tests in the last year, giving false info back to the Pentagon, knowing they've got moles inside there from Soros, and then they're even using that in disinfo to get the ISIS people to attack the wrong spot. And they're like, oh, my God, Obama is feeding intelligence directly to ISIS. Well, of course he is. Saudi intelligence and the Chinese intelligence basically runs that thing. We've got congressmen introducing bills to stop funding ISIS. We have Democrats coming out and speaking out as well. We have Democrats coming out and saying, oh, Obama, we got hacked 2 years ago in the big giant hack of all time. 14 million U.S. government's names, infos, code names, everything, all their operatives, total roll-up. There's no way they just got that. You gave it to them, didn't you? Oh, that's right. Oh, the Russians are getting us. Oh, the Russians. Obama rolled up our entire intelligence network worldwide, the Chi-Coms. That's why the intelligence agencies are in total war mode against Obama. Our military did not want to be part of evil. They followed their duty to fight all enemies, foreign and domestic. They did everything short of arresting or going after Obama.
I've watched the politicians. I've dealt with them all my life. If you can't make a good deal with a politician, then there's something wrong with you. You're certainly not very good. And that's what we have representing us. They will never make America great again. They don't even have a chance. They're controlled fully. They're controlled fully by the lobbyists, by the donors, and by the special interests, fully. They control them. Hey, I have lobbyists, I have to tell you. I have lobbyists that can produce anything for me. They're great. But you know what? It won't happen. It won't happen. Because we have to stop doing things for some people, but for this country, it's destroying our country. We have to stop, and it has to stop now.
That this is serious business, ladies and gentlemen. Serious business. And so here's the big story. We're in a death battle for the Republic. All over the world, people are waking up to globalism. And WikiLeaks and others are about to release incredible bombshell info if Obama and Hillary and all the rest of them don't back off and let us restore our Republic. I mean, what upside-down world do you see the big leftist Julian Assange on Sean Hannity? Because they know that's a show that Trump trusts, and where they know they can get it to the Republican audience who the Republican establishment is trying to manipulate right now into a war with Russia. We owe Russia so much for being sophisticated and working with our intelligence agencies and what's left of America to try to block this crazy globalist plan to turn Muslims loose all over Europe, all over the Middle East, all over Africa, all over Asia, which they've already gotten half their plan done. So this was a total global takeover with Soros behind it. That's in the WikiLeaks. A plan to end the free press, you name it, a total authoritarian takeover. And America and Russia, just like in World War II, is like coming to the rescue to block this evil empire takeover. It's incredible. And now these globalists know they're going to get in deep trouble if Trump gets in, so they're cornered rats moving against the Republic. We've never been in more danger. This is an incredible time to be alive. That's the big breaking news.
I've said this about Donald Trump. I've known him for decades. I said Donald Trump always looks like he's going to lose until just before he wins. He needs our help. This is where the InfoWars army out there, the InfoWars followers, the InfoWars faithful, are the backbone of the Trump train movement. And Trump knows it, too. He knows it. He understands it.
If you're watching this program, folks, it's up to you to spread the word and realize what's happening, and to realize that we've been artificially suppressed so that we can become poor, so they can micromanage our lives. They want us poor, so we're too busy trying to work to get food, so we're not too uppity. And Donald Trump doesn't like that. He doesn't like poverty. He doesn't like us collapsing. He doesn't like us being engineered. He doesn't like political correctness. He doesn't like Christians being demonized. He doesn't like seeing us be enslaved. He doesn't like seeing arrogant, murderous, third world jihadis coming in here to boss us around. He's sick of it. It's a basic male instinct, and it's exciting. And that's why more than ever, I'm so glad I'm backing Trump. He's not perfect. We're going to try to keep him honest. But he's giving the globalists a run for their money, and they are scared to death.
We need a leader that can bring back our jobs, can bring back our manufacturing, can bring back our military, can take care of our vets. Our vets have been abandoned.
Testing lethal pathogens on the troops. I mean, it's all. I mean, when Trump saw the stuff a few years ago from classified sources of what they're doing at the VAs, he literally goes into rages, okay? And I'm just telling you, they're in deep trouble when he gets in. He knows everything. He knows about 9/11, all of it, all of it. I've had former spy masters, current spy masters, all of them tell me, look, Alex, don't worry. You watch what Trump does. I had people approach me 4 years ago and go, Donald Trump, you know, he's going to be going to bring down the New World Order. Really likes what you're doing. I mean, like, that guy with hotels, the guy with orange hair, because I don't watch mainstream TV. That was all just his cover, folks. And they are crapping their drawers. Obama wanted ISIS to grow, close quote. They didn't just want it to grow. It's Al-Qaeda out of Saudi Arabia. It's an invasion of Syria. That's been declassified. And they sit there with this trillion-pound creature in the living room telling us we're stupid and conspiracy theorists When I have Colonel Schaefer, the former head of the anti-Al-Qaeda operation with over 1,000 people under him trying to hunt down Al-Qaeda for 4 years. And I've had, you name it, congressmen on, Walter Jones, everybody that's seen the secret documents. And if you think that's high up, imagine who I talked to on the telephone. As high as it goes. And everybody already knows that. And I'm just telling you, folks, what you're hearing here is the absolute facts. They've got, you name it, sex crimes, pedophile airplanes, Epstein, is the tip of the iceberg, just the entrance to the rabbit hole of nasties. They're the nastiest people you can imagine. Drug dealing, white slavery shipments into the Middle East, massive drug dealing, just drugs that are poisonous being approved. There's been an internal civil war in this country inside the intelligence agencies everywhere. Obama and Hillary were so evil, so bad that even mercenaries and corrupt people said, we're not with these crazy people that want to kill prosperity and want to, you know, domesticate everybody. And no, it's not happening.
When President Obama was elected, I said, well, the one thing I think he'll do well, I think he'll be a great cheerleader for the country. I think he'd be a great spirit. He was vibrant. He was young. I really thought that he would be a great cheerleader. He's not a leader, that's true. You're right about that. But he wasn't a cheerleader. He's actually a negative force. He's been a negative force. He wasn't a cheerleader. He was the opposite. We need somebody that can take the brand of the United States and make it great again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington, and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
In conclusion of all this, the same conclusion in the book I've just written in Killing the Deep State. It ends, in the end, Donald Trump wins. In the end, Alex Jones wins. In the end, InfoWars wins. And never forget that in the end, God wins.